Happy New Year. Welcome to Cross Politics. Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox. I'm the water boy. It's good to be with you. Let's go, Billy.
What?
All right, this is our Canadian buddies, all right? I have 3 New Year's resolutions for you, okay? First, be sons of Issachar. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Secondly, know the times we live in. And lastly, know what you ought to be doing. Kind of like the Bereans. The Bereans,
Oh, Godfather.
That wasn't very good.
It's like Tony.
That's right. Here's the thing. You can have good intentions. You can be, kind of sincere, genuinely try to even fix the problems and still at the same time be completely wrong.
That's right. Means instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person to person, spreading and spreading, sickening some of them, but not all of them. And the ones that it doesn't sicken don't know they have it. And then they give it to even more people because they didn't recognize they were, right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
Oh. Magic.
You cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people.
100%.
The vaccines will get us to the end of this. If we just go fast enough.
We aren't going fast enough. That's the problem.
Faster.
That's the problem. If anything we learn from the COVID pandemic, Toby loves how I wrote that, is that our country is full of politicians, pastors, and journalists who are
by the way.
utterly and completely wrong. Trump wrong. Despite their stated good intentions of trying to save us from dying. And that's how they'd put it, dying.
Right.
They're saving us from dying, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I got some data I want to give you guys, okay? You like it when I bring the data? Let's look at the data.
With data.
And may I remind you, it's their data.
Okay.
It's not Waterboy's data.
Oh. We know it's not your
Praise
data.
God.
If the vaccines work, then why is UK experiencing their highest daily reported cases? Look at that.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that.
I'm not very
Highest
good,
daily.
but it's going up.
It's going up. Hockey stick. It's that hockey stick graph that they.
Yeah.
This is not modeled though. They modeled the hockey stick graph. Listen to this. Okay, the UK right now has more than 47 million people. That's 82% over 12 years old that have both doses. They got to say both doses. I guess that's a fully vaccinated
But they
person.
still got the hockey stick going on.
I bet this was written a while ago, so it's probably like all doses because it's not both anymore.
No,
it's going to triples.
This is within the week. That's kind of thing. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Austria, not Australia. Good day, mate. According to usfacts.org, 72% have been fully vaccinated. Again, look at that seasonal chart too. It's kind of nice. Like, look at that.
It's like
kind of seasonal.
Merry Christmas.
So wait. I just want to understand this. The spikes going up is bad.
That's the daily reported cases.
Right. So that's not good. It's not like healed people.
It's people who are got 72% in Australia.
God, just want to understand that.
Let's bring this to the motherland. All right, the U.S. here. New York. Okay, I just made my British friends kind of mad there. According to usfacts.org, over 13 million, almost 14 million people, that's 71% of New York's population has been fully vaccinated.
Man, look at that Empire State Building.
Look at that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's their Empire State hockey chart.
But Rachel Maddow said that if you get vaccinated, it stops.
Yeah.
It stops.
Yeah.
She was just reading her prompter.
Ooh. And then, all right, let's go to California. So I've given you states that are kind of, been pretty serious about the lockdowns and everything. And here we are, California and the vaxes. California has over 26 million people. And that's about 66% of Californians' population that has been fully vaccinated. 26 million. That's a lot of people.
And look at the spikes.
And
look again, back in December. December. It's almost like there's a cycle or something.
And the spikes are bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think Biden has something to add for us here.
Oh, okay.
Continues to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
What?
So we got to make more progress. And for patients who still haven't gotten your kids vaccinated, please get them vaccinated. Look out for their interest here. It's the best way to protect them.
A pandemic of the unvaccinated.
We still doing that.
We're still doing that.
Okay.
I mean, Daniel Horowitz at The Blaze actually had a great article this last week, where he went through the stats. And he said, I mean, it's worse. I mean, so we're looking at pictures with Gabe, and it's like everybody's been vaccinated, and then there goes the spike. And you're like, Rachel Maddow, what the heck? Right?
How's that possible?
But he pointed out that 96% of all Omicron cases in Germany are among the vaccinated. 96%.
Wow.
This is from the respected Robert Koch Institute, reported last week that among the 4,200 Germans infected with Omicron, for whom their vaccination status was known, 95%, 0.58%, were fully vaccinated. More than a quarter of them had also had booster shots.
Oh, so they had both.
in Denmark.
Well, a third shot, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'll trace.
Get this one. In Denmark, 89.7% of all Omicron cases. So again, this is, I mean, even with those spikes, you can maybe be like, well, maybe who are those people? Well, this is the answer. In Denmark, 89.7% of all Omicron cases were among fully vaccinated. Okay? A pandemic of the unvaccinated, Biden says? I don't think so.
He's just reading his prompter too.
Because that is the set at the U.S.
As of December 31st, just 8.5% of all cases in Denmark, just 8.5% of all cases in Denmark were unvaccinated.
Wow.
That's not a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
No.
Right? According to Statins Serum. Okay, one last stat this is again from Horowitz, his article at The Blaze. In India, the Indian Express reports that 33 of 34 people, again, it's a very, very small sample size, but at least what they got, those who were hospitalized with Omicron, which is, again, not as intense of a strain, but 33 of the 34, guess what?
Wow.
Fully vaccinated.
Wow.
What was that thing that they talked about in the beginning of the pandemic? There's a lot of things that everybody forgot about, but it was like herd immunity.
Oh, you mean hurt immunity? Because I'm getting hurt over here.
Well, if you're vaccinated, you got to be getting pretty hurt right now because
4, 5, 6.
We got 17 vaccinations coming in the future. But what happened to herd immunity? If you got 94% of the people, 96% of the people, by right,
and Rachel Maddow says it stops.
So, but this is what's bad to me is that if that's herd immunity, I don't want it because it doesn't work. Herd immunity is actually supposed to work.
Right.
Well, they'll never admit this because of all the money they spent on vaccinations.
Well,
hundreds and billions of dollars, and they're not going to just say like, okay, maybe the vaccine.
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's everything.
They didn't spend the money on vaccinations, Gabe. They spent the money on control. Get it right. Vaccinations were just a way to get control.
I'll give you that.
And the reason that what gave them control was our fear. Fear has been the diet that they've been feeding us for the last 2 years. We've developed a very strong case of mass delusional psychosis. Reading and understanding facts or even being connected to reality has become absolutely foreign to us. And what it looks like is these graphs that we just got done seeing, we don't know how to read them anymore. We actually underestimate the fact that people's feelings actually have power.
Yeah.
We're concerned about the facts. Well, here's the facts. Here's the facts. Whoa. Don't underestimate.
And it's the feeling of fear.
It's the feeling of fear. The fear that they have, we have been underestimating, but the government hasn't. They've been playing on it the whole time. Yeah. But this is absolutely insanity. It's made us irrational. Fear has made us insane. And this is what it looks like again. It looks like reading these graphs absolutely backwards. We see 82% and we say, wait a second. There's 18% that are not vaccinated. That's the problem.
It's some Negroes.
The new Negroes and Jews. Those 18% of people, they're the ones that actually are killing us. And that's been going on for a long time, at least for the last 2 years. We've got to do something about those unvaccinated folks.
Right. Or even if you're in Germany and it's 2%.
2%
that are unvaccinated. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
2%.
But I mean, really though, we got to stop and say to yourself, what kind of immunity have you gotten from your government?
What was that phrase you used? Mass delusional psychosis?
Yeah, mass delusional psychosis.
MDP.
What is that? Yeah, do you have MDP?
MDP. No. So this
Have you tested positive for MDP?
Can we say his name without getting shut down?
I don't know.
Peter McCullough. Peter. That's what we should do. Peter A. McCullough talked about this when he was talking to Joe Rogan, and actually went and got a book called United States of Fear, where the guy who talks about it is in the book. And what he goes through is he talks about how you can get a mass majority of people to move and operate in a particular way by getting them delusional with fear.
Worked up with fear.
So if you can get them all worked up around fear, and you feed them a particular, so what you basically do is you get fear coming into the society, and then you send them all home, and then you feed them fear through their television.
Right.
And the way they did that for us was every day you watch the news.
Here's the numbers.
The numbers.
Count.
And so then you can actually manipulate and move people to do things that they wouldn't normally do by themselves. This is how you get good people who were actually in Germany to kill innocent folks in mass.
Right.
It's also called insanity. I mean, like the other word for that is like insanity.
Well, my question though is mass delusional psychosis a religion?
I think it's the way that you get people locked into a particular ideology and worldview.
I mean, if the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, it seems to me like the fear of idols, the fear of man, the fear of death is always, it's going to be necessarily religious in nature.
That's right.
And so it's psychosis, sure.
But it's worship.
But I think it actually is a worship.
No, you're right.
I think it's a God problem. And I think God's given us over to this fear. That's the thing. Yeah. In Deuteronomy, I just keep coming back to this in the
oh, that's really good. God's given us
in the warnings to the people of Israel. Moses warns them if they break covenant, if they turn away from him, he will become jealous. And when God is jealous because they've turned to other gods, it says he says he will turn them over. He will heap mischiefs upon them. He will spend his arrows upon them. This is God sending arrows upon his own people. He will afflict them with hunger, with burning heat, with bitter destruction. And then this, the sword without and terror within shall destroy both young man and virgin, suckling and man of gray hairs. Terror within. Fear. God sends plagues of fear. And I think if we've had a pandemic at all, it's not a pandemic of the unvaccinated, a pandemic of a virus per se, but rather it's been a pandemic of fear.
You know what's driven me nuts though, Pastor, is that there is a group of people that God has not given a spirit of fear to.
Right.
So they don't need to act like it.
Right.
And so that's it. Anyway.
Yeah. No. You know, another name for Sons of Issachar, you started the show off, is Wise Man. You know Wiseman?
Yeah.
You know,
came to Jesus.
Turns out we were running a serious deficit on wise men on Christmas Eve.
Or even 2021.
United Airlines and Delta apologized to passengers, both carriers saying their cancellations were at least partly due to the Omicron variant grounding flight crews.
What they didn't expect was this variant to come around. So they have a lot more people than normal who are calling out sick, who are testing positive, and then who have to stay in isolation for 10 days, even if they potentially feel better sooner.
Airline workers who have been vaccinated and have breakthrough COVID infections now have to quarantine for 10 days from the onset of symptoms, following CDC guidelines.
You know, that was Christmas Eve, and it's actually been continuing. The last couple of weeks, there have been more and more flights canceled. You know why they didn't expect the Omicron variant?
Government education?
Because they didn't know their Greek alphabet.
Government education.
Yeah, fair enough. And right on schedule, Lindy Lee, who's a graduate of Princeton and a Biden operative, who's wrote this, with over 100,000 followers on Twitter, I bet she bought some of those, has this to say: Delta and United Airlines just canceled hundreds of flights on Christmas Eve due to Omicron. It's sheer insanity that the unvaccinated are still allowed to fly.
Wow.
The 2%.
And unvaxxed crew are still allowed to work. Requiring a jab to fly is a no-brainer. Flying is a privilege, not a right. 9 million Americans will fly in December.
Gracious.
By allowing the unvaxxed, we're basically shepherding bioterrorists around the skies. How many of them can be trusted to wear a mask the whole time? I can't. I can't be trusted. I agree. It's me.
You're right. You're right. Don't help her though.
Yeah.
Omicron can easily run rampant, targeting us like fish in a barrel. You know, what Lindy Lee is arguing for is a blind, secret knowledge of who the infected are.
Gnosticism.
Who the bioterrorists are. Actually, it is. It's pure Gnosticism. Again, back to what we talked about before. Rachel Maddow is wrong. Biden is wrong.
Yes.
That's right.
The actual facts, the actual stats prove that the vaccine does not end the virus.
Right.
Whatever it's doing, it's not ending it.
Yeah.
And again, this is pure Gnosticism. The initiated are the vaxxed. The uninitiated are the unvaxxed. But God made the world such that you can generally tell who the carriers are. It's people with symptoms. And this is because you can see what's right in front of you, whether someone's sick or not. Even Fauci used to understand. These were the good old days. Good old days of Fauci when he understood this before the pandemic.
It's hard to remember.
But the one thing historically people need to realize that even if there is some asymptomatic transmission, in all the history of respiratory-borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
I like how he walks off. I think this video was in 2017 or 18 or 19, something like that.
Fauci for the win?
No, I don't know. No, I guess he's saying the right things, but you know what bothers me about this?
In the history of the world.
Why, people have lost their jobs. People are struggling to live in a place where they grew up at. They have done something for their whole life, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for an education that they can't have anymore. And we can find old videos of truth that we've been saying since the beginning, since March, since before we ever shut down about what the facts that we knew. Nah, man, I want blood. What I mean by that is I want somebody to play restitution. I want something to be done about this. No, he owes people a lot right now.
That's a good point. And I think and that's a testimony to the point you were making earlier about fear. You got clips all over the place of stuff like this. Right. Where Fauci and other people were saying
masks don't work,
reasonable
masks
things.
Don't work.
Yes.
They flop and they flip. And the American people just stand there going, okay, now how many masks do I have to have on?
We're getting kicked off of YouTube for saying this stuff.
How many vaccines do I have to have? 5, 10, 15? I'll do it. It's mass, what'd you call it? MDP?
Yeah, mass delusional psychosis.
Yeah, there's also some basic principles of justice here.
Hey, there we go.
You ready?
I'll calm down.
I'll come at him. Innocent until proven guilty. This is one of the basic biblical principles of justice. People can generally tell who is sick because they have symptoms. Those symptoms are like, again, 2 or 3 witnesses. And if there are no symptoms, you're presumed innocent, or in this case, presumed healthy. Unlike, what's her name? Miss Lee?
Yeah, Lindy Lee.
Lindy Lee, who just assumes everybody's basically infected. It's not enough to have good intentions. It's not enough to sincerely want to help or do the right thing. You were saying this earlier, Gabe. You can be sincerely wrong. Like it says in Revelation 6, I looked and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Good Intentions, and hell followed with him. Hey, you like that?
I do.
Pilgrim's Progress. Revelations there.
Another name for sons of Issachar is Bereans.
Hey, I like how you did that Old Testament, New Testament thing kind of.
Yeah. Sons of Issachar. Yes. Okay, you're not into that? Fine. Bereans.
They're so Presbyterian.
Remember, after Paul preached to the Thessalonians, and they ran him out of town with their own version of a BLM riot. Paul went to Berea, and Acts says that the Bereans were more noble than the Thessalonians because when they heard Paul's preaching, they diligently searched the scriptures to see if what Paul was preaching about Jesus was true. And you know what scriptures those Bereans were studying?
OT.
The Old Testament.
OT.
Huh. Oh. Not in Titus?
But you can't be a Berean about the news or politics or pandemics if you're not a Berean with God's word first. This is the thing. I mean, I was only slightly joking about classical education.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think of this as something that's sort of highbrow or elite. I think sometimes people think that with like Latin or Greek or whatever.
That's right.
I'm just talking about biblical common sense, being noble like the Bereans, searching the scriptures, reading the scriptures, and seeing what they say. This is something that everyone is capable of. The statistics we've been looking at today. Everybody is capable of pulling these things up and saying, you know what? No, actually 98% of people in Germany were vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right.
I can read the Bible. I can read a chart. Look, there's the spike again. And it's just like Christmas last year. Everybody's been vaccinated. Something's not adding up. Do you have symptoms?
Yeah.
Stay home.
Stay home. Did you hear about Prophet Aaron Rodgers this last week?
That's his new title.
Prophet
Quarterback
Aaron Rodgers.
Quarterback Prophet Aaron Rodgers.
He stopped cutting his hair. Maybe he's a Nazarite now.
I took the Nazarite vow. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
You're probably not drinking either, right?
Aaron Rodgers said this last week that if you are not allowed to question the science, then what you're getting is propaganda. It's so good. It's so good. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like Joe Rogan, Aaron Rodgers, Dave Chappelle. Like
when you don't have
something's going on.
It's like Balaam's donkey.
That's exactly
Lots of them.
We are not allowed to question the efficacy of wearing masks, even if it was a cloth mask.
No.
All right, you for sure are not allowed to question, with or from. Right? Did you die with? Did you die with? From? Yeah, right. Okay. Dying from COVID and so forth. And then don't even think about questioning Fauci, Mr. Science Man.
Never
right?
question
You question
the data.
Fauci, you question the science. Right? Well, we don't do that. Our nation has drank from the propaganda fountain. You like that? The propaganda fountain.
Also drunk.
Just drank from it.
Also.
No, it's
I'm
drank.
from Texas. You say drank.
It's
all
drank.
right. All right. You drank from it.
Drunk.
Okay. Because we have not been sons of Issachar.
Or Bereans.
We don't understand the times we live in. And follow me here. Because the church has believed in the propaganda at the most basic level. We, the church, have not read our Bibles. That's one of the most basic areas where we failed. And so we believe propaganda. Instead, we've believed the propaganda of public education.
Yeah.
We have bowed our knee to the government instead of God, and we have followed or allowed the cultural pressures of feminism, wokenessism, and the LGBT movement, drank, and the LGBT movement to dictate what is acceptable from our pews, from our pulpit.
Yeah.
Propaganda has worked in this world because it worked so easily in the church first.
Right. Again, it goes back to the whole Berean thing. People were not studying their Bibles, were not checking to see if these things are true. The pastors came along and said, no, it's okay that my children are rebellious.
Yeah.
I can still be a pastor. That doesn't apply here. Yeah. And the people said, oh, okay. Yeah. And they said, it's okay. A woman can be an elder. She can be a deacon. Right. She can teach and have authority over men. It doesn't apply here. I did a Greek word study.
Yep. On propaganda, Greek word study.
Yeah, but the people did not study. I mean, in the case with the Bereans and Paul, what he was preaching them was accurate. It was true.
Yeah.
But for the last century, we've had pastors and pulpits preaching things that are false, untrue, not biblical, and that's the fault of the people in the church who said, oh, okay, I guess that's all right. They didn't search the scriptures. They were not Bereans. That we have not been noble. And now that same failure to check the facts.
Right. To check God's word, in our case.
It's spilled out. Yeah. And now we have what do we call it?
Mass delusional psychosis.
Isn't there like mass delusional Bible psychosis?
Yeah, so that's where it started.
That's where it's worship, basically, of a false god.
Yeah.
Well, that's what fear is, anyway.
It is. Now, during COVID, pornography use increased by over 23%. Depression rates have tripled. Screen time has increased by 5 hours a day. These are extremely alarming statistics, especially now.
They are.
We're seeing the need for true biblical accountability on our digital media. Accountable to You, that's accountable and then the number 2 and then the word you, is an accountability software that runs on your phone or computer and shares detailed activity reports with a partner that you choose. Having accountability in place is a proven way to fight temptation, safeguard integrity, and provide peace of mind in your family. Don't wait until it's too late. Start your free trial today at accountable, the number 2, and then the word you.com/FLF.
And what's cool here is I've actually installed this on all my kids' devices.
I need to hook up
that'll
with
let them have access to
it. And it works pretty well.
Yeah. It's been working great. It's a little sensitive.
Yeah.
I
like it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's a little sensitive. I'm sure I'm sure you can adjust it.
It's like Paw Patrol. It's like getting liberal.
But I went to actually a Christian website, and it was talking about pornography and everything. I think is actually another competitor of Accountable to You. I went to their website. Maybe that's why they flagged it. But
be careful.
And then I read a article on Michael Irvin. He's a football player, and it flagged
the
it
playmaker.
Too, so,
well, actually, it's funny.
So it's a little sensitive in parts, but it's great. I'd much rather be more sensitive, and it picks up all my kids' movements and stuff.
Do we have any more of the good stuff? Because I need a little bit. I just want to say that I don't mind it flagging Christian sites. I actually want to know what Christian sites my kids are going to.
Well, I mean, back to what we were just talking about. I mean, we've had problem with not having Bereans in the church, and so I mean, hey, we should double check it all. Well, search the scriptures. See if these things are true.
What they're saying, what are the things that they're saying? Some of the things they're saying in some of the Christian circles is almost as bad as what's going on Disney.
Yeah,
right. Because they don't get the facts straight there either.
Right. It's almost as bad as VeggieTales.
Did they ever get their act together? Never mind. But facts are some things that matter. Facts matter. Truth, it's important. But arguing facts and truth detached from authority and responsibility leaves your feet planted firmly in midair.
Right.
Just a little firmly in midair. That's exactly right.
Firmly on purpose.
In midair. Yeah, that's just a little bit below the liberals' feet where they're planted at. Yeah. And the thing is, we don't actually want to be just closer to the ground. We actually want our feet to touch the ground. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We want to be touching realities. Unlike the liberals, we want to actually touch the world that God made and live in the real world that God made.
Yeah.
And that's what it means actually to be a son of Issachar. We've been talking about that a lot on this particular show. We don't want to be the type of people who argue the facts of masks, which don't work, by the way. We actually want to be the kind of people that argue the authority of masks. Oh. Who is it that is in charge? And can they make me wear something on my face that I don't actually want to wear? We've got great people around us debating about the efficacy of vaccines and if they work, and that's awesome, and I appreciate everything that they're doing. But the underlying question is, does our government get to decide for us our own health decisions? You know, back in the day, many feminists, they actually used to say absolutely not. And I never thought I would say this, but I kind of miss some of the old feminists.
Shots fired.
And if the government can't mandate a vaccine on us, why in the world why can't they do that? And where do they get that authority not to do that from?
Yeah.
We have let secularists create the foundations of the conversation.
That's right.
But that's not the worst part of the whole ordeal. The worst part is that we don't challenge it. Instead, we assume the same sort of irrelevant foundations as if God actually hasn't spoken. Sons of Issachar challenge the presuppositions and align the world the way that God has actually designed it to be, remembering our own creation story and not believing theirs. God is the one that's in charge. He's actually placed me as the head of my house and my wife, and we make the decisions about our health care, not the government.
That's right.
And yes, I know it's not all just us. The government actually does have some responsibility, and they can do things, but what is that responsibility and duty to us and to the nation? And where do those
definitions come from
and boundaries actually stop and start?
Right. Stay in your lane.
If you want to be sons of Issachar, you need to know the answers to these questions this year in 2022. Otherwise, fear and folk like Rachel Maddow, they get to lead you around in circles, or even worse, you win a few arguments with facts that don't actually point to the true foundations for human flourishing. We used to call those type of people who did that Pharisees.
Yeah, that's right.
And now, and we need to continue to call.
That's right.
I got some more, and we need to continue to use that word.
I mean,
and human flourishing. I like that word.
And you're talking about Republicans, right?
We have been horrible.
All of them.
We have been absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I mean the fact that like you argue the mask, you argue the vaccine, but the whole. I mean, this is so good. We cannot miss the fact that if you merely argue those things, you are missing a foundational strata level. And I think you're spot on. The thing that we need to be questioning is who has the authority. Who has the authority?
So when Biden tweeted out just like 2 days ago or something, he said, you should get vaccinated. It's proven to work, kind of thing. And I just grabbed the tweet in a quote, and I just said, he just needs to stay in his lane. Right. If your president's telling you about your health choices or trying to, get you to do something, the issue is like, just stay in your lane.
Right.
Next time your city council tells you to wear a cloth mask, which don't work, stay in your lane.
The thing that's killing me is that this was the nightmare that feminists were afraid of about the whole pro-life thing, right? And they got the argument absolutely wrong.
Right.
But I really did expect, maybe it's because I believe them, but I actually expect to see the feminists lighting their pink hair on fire and running down the street screaming, "Oh no, it's here!"
Yeah, they're telling us what to do with our bodies.
What to do with our bodies. No, but that's not what they're doing.
Because it turns out it was never about their bodies.
It was.
It was never about their bodies. It was always about the revolution. It was always. I mean,
and rebelling against God.
And that's what it is. I'm saying the fundamental revolution is giving the finger to Jesus Christ and his people, his church. That's what the real enemy is here.
Right.
Yep.
And that's why it comes back to, by what standard, who's in charge, whose authority. And
Stay in your lane.
Because Jesus is Lord, he assigns particular tasks to pastors, to government officials and to families, stay in your lane.
That's right.
And you know what? You need to figure out, okay, if you haven't been in your lane, you've been abdicating that responsibility.
Right.
Grab that authority back. It's not too late.
Yeah, 2022 is a good year to find your lane and guard it.
And it's usually, your lane is usually the thing that's closest to you, right? In your home.
Yep. Amen.
So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Wait a second. I got to stop the music. You know what we didn't talk about?
What?
We have another scholarship. I totally forgot about the scholarship.
The ladies' scholarship.
So we have a scholarship for NSA. We have a guy that we already sent to NSA. He's got the scholarship. Salute, brother.
He's a good people.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's good people.
And now it's time for us or our wives to actually pick a sister to go to NSA.
I need to tell my wife that she's going to be
I got to tell Sharon too. I think I might have told Sharon.
Baby, if you're listening to this Dewsbury, this midweek fix, you're going to be kind of helping.
Now you know.
So if someone wants to
It's a beast mode homemaker scholarship for a woman defined by God and biology.
Amen.
If you're accepted to NSA, you're going to write an essay.
Yep, starting February 1st.
Yeah.
So starting February 1st, we'll look at all the essays.
Yep. And why NSA is going to help you be a beast mode homemaker.
And you'll email us at contact@fightlaughfeast.com to get us your essays and all that stuff. But that's February 1st.
It's going to be on the website soon, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's try it again. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. Happy New Year.